Oh, I think they're doing a great job. A lot of them are.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. And thank you so much for not only allowing me to take the time off, but to be so missing you so much that I'm honored to be back. And I'm glad to start it back with the good friends from Health City. I want to tell you about some great things that are coming up. Hey, our health is our wealth. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. MedLab in Smith Road Plaza, your complete medical laboratory solution. Call 949-7331. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255.
Courtesy of Flow.
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. And thanks very much for joining us. And it truly is a distinct pleasure to be able to sit here and facilitate our discussions, to be informed, involved, sometimes entertained, but certainly empowered, as we welcome our good friends from Health Today, the Global Sales and Marketing Manager, Ms. Tiffany Dixon Ebanks. Mom, good afternoon. Welcome so much.
Good afternoon, Sterling Dwayne. It's wonderful for me to be back in the studios with you again. It seems as if it's been very recent. After a long hiatus, I've been in the studios within the last 2 weeks with you, and I'm back again after not being here for maybe, a year or more? Too long. So I'm happy to be in studios today. With regards to Health City Cayman Islands, Dr. Rashmi Sharma is going to be in studios with us for the next, is it an hour? We have, for our little conversation or short conversation today on everything related to breast health. So we have, for those listening who are not aware, we brought Dr. Rashmi on to our medical team 2021 last year. And so she's not new anymore. She's met quite a few people, have quite a few patients, and she has been growing in the local community in terms of offering her services here. So we're proud to welcome her as the only breast surgeon and surgical oncoplastic, surgeon in the Cayman Islands, increasing the level of services that Health City is able to offer to those who are dealing with such matters. We are currently having a special offer for the month of April. And we, for anyone who looked on our social media or the advertising that went out, the creative team that we work along with, it is Live Your Breast Life. with the pun in there. Basically, trying to promote mammograms, early detection, and consulting with your physician to ensure that you're in good and optimal health. With Mother's Day coming up, May the 9th, we decided that we wanted to extend the offer. We have had quite a few people. Actually, before the show today, Dr. Rashmi was telling me that she has 12 appointments booked for Wednesday. So we've had quite a few people who have taken advantage of the program so far. It's a special offer, only US $150 to do the mammogram, get the results back, and then have that initial consultation with Dr. Sharma to talk about, what the report says. So that's really why we're here today, to talk about that promotion. And then we also wanted to invite Dr. Rashmi on to just give an overview of everything related to breast health, early detection, the types of screenings that we're able to offer at Health City and that we will be able to offer in the future, because we're growing as we speak. I don't even know, maybe Dr. Rashmi has a further update since yesterday on certain pieces of equipment that we have brought in to Health City's premises in order to better service our patients. So that is what we're going to be talking about today, and I know that Dr. Rashmi will be a breath of fresh air to those who are listening, who happen to have an issue that they want to talk about. They don't know if it's a problem. Is it a problem? Yeah. Do I need to go to the doctor or not? Dr. Rashmi is here to talk with us this afternoon about those issues.
Well, I certainly appreciate the opportunity, and for me, I learn best through, sort of jovial approach. And I like, your tagline, live your best life. I mean, we need to keep abreast of this. It's important.
Yes.
And, I go back to when we see the promotion for continuing, or at least trying to ensure that the importance of nursing and, back to breast is best. When we look at breastfeeding and the like, it is significant from that point of view of life. But then to the woman who has maybe feel this thing uncomfortable as she's dressing, a small lump or that concern because of a family member, sometimes the reticence on the part of many of us to go to seek a physician. But, ignorance for some may seem bliss. So, Dr. Rashmi, from that perspective, as we invite you to share with us, so that we as the supporters and the supporting cast in the lives of our mothers or wives or sisters or daughters or colleagues or aunts, the women in our lives, that we help to draw alongside. But I think the resources, as Ms. Tiffany referenced, is not only great for the Cayman Islands, but even for the region, so that we don't have to travel to North America or Europe or other places. It's a short flight away to a space that may be a little bit more familiar, people who are perhaps a little bit more accommodating than they would maybe if they go elsewhere. So thank you very much, Mom.
Yes. Thank you very much for welcoming me, Tiffany, and thank you for having me at your studios. I'm Dr. Rashmi Sharma. I'm a breast oncoplastic surgeon. That means I take care of all the breast problems, all any anxiety or anything you have regarding your breast health. I'm there to help you. I'm there to diagnose it and treat it as best as possible. First, coming to the breast lumps that you may be worried about. One fine day you detect a lump and you get worried, it could be breast cancer. But the most important thing I want to tell you is not all breast lumps are cancer. Only 1 out of 8 or 10 lumps is breast cancer. But the important thing is to go to the doctor, get yourself checked, and get it checked so that they tell you whether it's non-cancer. I can treat non-cancerous lumps also. I can diagnose cancer. And if you present early to us, we can cure you. That is the most important. Breast cancer in early stages is curable. You can lead a normal life. And that is what I want to emphasize.
I know for me, I think the wider community, we're very grateful to the Lions Club of Trop Gardens in particular for their decades now of continuing, breast cancer awareness and promotion, early detection, they say. Now, from the statistics, that's between 10 to 12% prostate cancer.
Yes.
Is it then that early detections, we know what stage 1, stage 2, up to
Yes.
stage 4.
Yes.
Does it depend on what stage the early detection?
No, it also, yes, stage is very important, but now over the years we've learned that the biology of the tumor is also very important. And that is what has made us improve the prognosis of patients with breast cancer. One is early detection. People have become aware, so they come early. But we as doctors, we as clinicians have started understanding the biology over the years, and there are personalized treatment, targeted treatments for different kinds. We have very good drugs, we have better chemotherapy drugs, we have targeted hormone therapies, we have immunotherapies. So all these newer treatments have helped us give the benefits to the patients who come with breast cancer. Even advanced stage, we are able to give good treatment.
Okay. If we could ask, so we recognize, well, maybe we should ask, we hear the word mammograms, and one, is that the sort of the gold standard for detection?
Yes, mammogram is a gold standard for early detection. Sometimes breast cancer is not palpable. You will not be able to feel it, but it is seen on a mammogram. That means it's very early. And some breast cancers, they just present as white dots on the mammogram, which definitely you will not be able to palpate, or even the doctor will not be able to palpate. So breast cancer screening we advise by a mammogram because it picks up stage 0 to stage 1 cancers which is not palpable. So in that stage it is definitely curable cancer, and that is why we advise screening by mammograms.
And just as cursory reading in it, having female friends in our lives, you talk about fibrous tissue, fibrous breast. Someone, how does that play in? What can you share with us so that for women?
Yes, women, younger women have very dense breast tissue, which on a mammogram appears white, and a tumor also appears white. So the tumor gets covered by the normal breast tissue. That's why we advise a mammogram for women above 40 years of age, or even 45 years. Younger women, we advise a clinical examination plus an ultrasound, because mammogram is not the best modality to check for their breast. But as the women grow older, mammogram is the ideal thing to have, and if required, sometimes we may ask for an MRI also. But mammogram picks up at least 20% of cancers which are not palpable.
Right.
So it does help us.
And we know, sort of the lumps. If he doesn't mind, one of your physician colleagues, Dr. Ebanks, at another facility, did a video. He was talking about the 7 S's, and it's good through these medium to be able to have a bit of education and awareness and understanding.
Yes.
And I think that's probably the only good use of, in a sense, that sort of promotion. But with the lumps and with the fibrous tissue, from the mammogram to the MRI, what would be the determination as to when you would advance from the mammogram to the MRI? Or
not all patients who have a mammogram require an MRI. Only when there's a diagnostic dilemma, then we go for an MRI.
Okay.
So a mammogram is a gold standard because it helps us in diagnosing cancer. And once we get a mammogram and we suspect a cancer, then we go for a core needle biopsy. That will help us in diagnosing.
All right.
If there is any diagnostic dilemma, like if there are multiple lumps, or if there is something on a biopsy we are thinking that it's a very early tumor, we want to conserve the breast, then we go for an MRI, because we have to rule out any other lumps which may be present if we are doing a breast conservation. So these are few conditions in which an MRI is required. MRI also has to be done in people with a high risk of developing breast cancer, meaning with family history, they are younger patients, then mammogram is not the ideal because mammogram will be white. Then we go for a MRI to pick up lesions in a high risk patient where we are suspecting that we could be missing it. Then is when we do an MRI.
Right. So when we come back from the break, if we could ask through you some more sort of education in relation to not just the treatment or the signs and symptoms, but with things like potential risk factors. I know you alluded to that. But aspiration, we know some women will have perhaps these lumps and they're uncomfortable, what do they do in addition to, getting the checkup and maybe getting a biopsy? Is aspiration something that will help? Can we talk about some of those things? Hey, listen, education empowers, and if you stay tuned, you'll be informed. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointments.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Ask our professional team about the benefits of cutting-edge technology with MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
Subway is serving up a special new sauce, bursting with flavor in every bite. The new Savory Collection is a tropical sweet and spicy sauce made with a combination of spices, habanero peppers, thyme, onion, black pepper, ginger, citrus juices, and molasses.
So good. Wow. Sensational. Delicious.
Subway's Savory Collection pairs perfectly with our oven roasted chicken or steak sub. Savor the flavor. For a limited time, only at Subway. Subway. Eat fresh.
JN Money. Money touchdown. Send the money now. Reach wow. You say you need some money, JN Money, I can send it in a hurry. Get through quick when you come collect your cash, or use a money card and swipe it in a flash. Send funds to any bank, yeah. Pay your bills quick, yeah. Low fees, you know what it, yeah. JN Money, we are pick, yeah. Send and receive funds at any JN Money location. It's fast, affordable, and convenient. Money touchdown with JN Money. Send funds to any bank, yeah. Pay your bills quick, yeah. Low fees, you know what it, yeah. JN Money, we are pick, yeah.
Call 345-945-2014 for details. Available at JN Money locations across the Cayman Islands.
Did you know that ValueMed Pharmacy has a free online prescription service? Managing your health and medical requirements has never been easier with ValueMed. Simply visit value-medpharmacy.com. That's VALU-medpharmacy.com and click the Refill Prescriptions tab on our website. Fill in the information for new prescriptions or refills and choose your preferred pickup location, ValueMed on Walkers Road or Boddentown. Then bring in your original prescription from your doctor when picking up. There's no need to stand in line and wait for your prescription. Save time and pick up prescriptions at your convenience by visiting value-medpharmacy.com. That's VALU-medpharmacy.com.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waging to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thank you so much for joining us. And it's truly always a pleasure to be able to highlight not just education in healthcare, but when we can get through a topic like we're discussing relative to our health, to be so educated and informed. We're glad to Miss Tiffany Dixon Ebanks over at Health City joining us, and our colleague. She's the Global Sales and Marketing Manager and consultant oncologist, Dr. Rashmi Sharma, for sharing with us. The idea that we can have these public discussions about breast health, about cancer treatment, hopefully would position people to appreciate that it's not a discussion that we should whisper anymore, like our parents and their parents did. That there is hope, and not just early detection, but even as Dr. Sharma was sharing, even if it comes at a later stage, we don't feel so overwhelmed. I was just asking prior to the break about some of the treatments and the risk factors and the signs, and then of course other issues. I'll be guided by you, but are there particular groups of individuals as more and more research and knowledge comes available? We talked about 40, 45, 50 onwards, but even maybe earlier. What would be some of the considerations when it comes to risk factors?
First, coming to what are the risk factors? The most important is being a woman itself is a risk factor.
Okay.
most 99% of breast cancers occur in women. That is what I'm trying to say is even men can get breast cancer, though it's only 1%, but 1% men can get breast cancer. Secondly, age. As we are aging, age is another risk factor. As you grow older, you are getting higher risk of getting breast cancer. The other thing is genetics. Though genetics is only about 5 to 10% of breast cancer, but inherited genes from your parents can give you an increased risk of breast cancer. Those inherited genes can be, most important is BRCA1 and 2 genes, which give you a higher risk of breast cancer. Then comes to the point where you are obese. Obesity is another risk factor. That's why we tell everybody maintain good, don't become obese. If your BMI is more than 25 and you are postmenopausal, your risk becomes higher. So we tell everybody try to maintain your BMI to less than 25.
Okay.
Another factor is being inactive. So I advise people get moving. 2.5 hours of weekly exercise reduces your breast cancer risk by 30%.
30%?
30%. 2.5 hours. That means half an hour brisk walk every day start.
Okay.
That is what. You should do brisk walk 5 days a week, half an hour.
Okay.
That will reduce your risk. Then we come to a healthy diet. There are studies which show that Mediterranean diet reduces your risk of breast cancer. You include nuts, you decrease your red meat consumption, you eat vegetables and fruits. At least 5 servings per day should be vegetables and fruits to reduce your risk. That will help you in maintaining ideal weight. You won't become obese, and you should keep yourself active. Then comes to smoking. Smoking is another risk factor. When we talk of genetics, smoking is something which causes a change in your DNA, and that is a genetic mutation which happens after you are born. So if you are smoking too much, restrict yourself. You start restricting yourself, and then at one point you should stop smoking, because smoking does change your DNA and cause mutation in your genes and gives you a risk of breast cancer. Another thing is alcohol. There are studies which say alcohol does increase, and if you decrease alcohol maybe less than 3 pints per week, your risk decreases by another 15%. So everything what I have mentioned, these are causes which increase your risk. So if you reverse them, if you try to help yourself by decreasing all these, your risk comes down.
Right. And I can then gather from what you share in that it doesn't matter if you started, from early on or you decided.
Yes, even if you start late, it helps. Stop smoking, decrease alcohol, it will help you in the long run. Even menopausal women, if they start exercising, their risk decreases if you do it as early as you can.
Right.
The other thing I forgot is hormonal treatment.
Yes.
Hormonal treatment after menopause does increase your risk of breast cancer. So I advise, if you can restrict your hormonal treatment to less than 3 years, or maybe the least amount of dose required, and maybe use non-hormonal treatments for your symptoms which you are having after menopause, it will help you. That doesn't mean you don't take hormones. If you're really restricted by your activity, you may have to take, but take the lowest dose, take it for the lowest amount of time.
And I think this is where that continued consultation with your primary care physician will help, so that you have that lifestyle.
Yes.
Going back to some of the signs initially, but I was talking about sort of aspirations. I was thinking of women with the fibroids, and they go to the physician, there's the usual exams, nothing is there. Is it necessary then to remove or to
As
aspirate?
I said in the very beginning, that not all lumps are cancer.
Right.
Only 1 out of 8 to 10. So what are the other lumps? The other lumps could be fibroadenomas, they could be cysts. So fibroadenomas are solid lumps, but they don't have any fluid in them. So very small fibroadenomas, we just observe over time. If they increase, then we remove them. But if the other lumps, if they come on ultrasound as cysts, that means there is a lump which is filled with liquid, that is some fluid. Then aspiration helps. We remove the fluid and we observe after 3 months. If the fluid doesn't come back, we don't do anything. If the fluid comes back, then we may have to remove that lump. So these are benign lumps which need treatment in the form of aspiration or observation or removal. But these are all benign lumps.
Right. And I guess this is where that sort of early detection, but the self-breast exams that we've been hearing about. And in asking that then, are there particular, for one of them, the sort of signs and symptoms that women should look for, not only with their regular checks?
Yes, breast lump is the commonest sign with which a woman presents to us. But there are other signs. There could be some pain. Not all cancers are painless. Usually most cancers are painless, but some cancers can present as pain also. So that you should remember. The other thing is nipple discharge.
Okay.
Nipple discharge, especially if it's only from one breast or only from one point, or if it's bloody discharge, it should be a red flag. You should go and consult your doctor. Let them see you. Let them investigate. It could be a sign of cancer. The other thing is nipple retraction. Means nipple, both sides the nipple doesn't look the same. It's kind of moving inwards.
Inverted, yeah.
So that is another sign. The other is some scratching or itching on your breast, some skin changes. Those can also be signs of cancer. Another thing which can be is any lump under your armpit. Sometimes the breast cancer may be very small. You may not feel any lump, but there may be a lump in your armpit. So these are some of the commonest signs which can present as breast cancer.
And as you were sharing with under the armpit, for some people they may associate it with something else.
Yes.
Without actually recognizing. Now you did remind us that only 1% would be men, and I certainly. I know all the men, the fathers in particular, would be certainly instructive that we focus on our women. But for the 1%, a mammogram, I don't think is possible for a man.
Yes, it is possible, but it's a little more difficult, I would say. It's possible. But the most important is if the men feel they're feeling some lump, then they should go to a doctor. Sometimes they just ignore because maybe they're not aware that it could be. So best is to go to a doctor. Get yourself checked and they'll be able to help you. Maybe an ultrasound is all that you may require. So these are the things men should be just aware. Awareness cannot prevent cancer, but awareness can help you go to a doctor and get yourself diagnosed.
I think as Dr. Rashmi says that now, and we're kind of like getting into the almost in the middle of the show now. If anyone is listening and any of the symptoms that Dr. Rashmi mentioned earlier, the discharge, the inversion, if you're seeing any of those symptoms now and you're like, okay, you're trying to listen to the show, what should you do? We have set up a specific email address for breast issues. It's breastclinic@healthcity.ky, breastclinic@healthcity.ky, and we actually have a dedicated phone number. So I know persons have been accustomed to our 640-4040. If that's the number you remember and you call, we'll redirect you, don't worry. But we also have a special line that has now been set up for breast health. And that number is, if anyone wants to write that down, it's 525-8871. That's 525-8871. Stay tuned to our social media and announcements and things like that. Those will also be online. But I just wanted to interject that as Dr. Rashmi just made some very, some good points in terms of things that persons should be looking out for. And if that is happening with you and you have some level of concern, it's best to check it out. You might come, check it out, and as Dr. Rashmi said, it's just a cyst. It's going to go away. It's not a problem. But just in case, just to be, to be safe and your peace of mind, get it checked out to get our professional breast surgeon look at you and consult with you, and you can ask those questions directly of the doctor.
And as you shared, you have a special loan now for $150 US. So for those individuals, this is an investment in their health. When we come back from this break, could we ask about some of the treatments? I know you referenced immunotherapy. We know some of the traditional ones. Maybe you could help us to appreciate what's available here. And again, take away that sense of fear and trepidation that we may have when it comes into well, what if it is? Well, you know what? Knowledge is powerful. All right, we're going to talk about that when we return. Please rejoin us after the break.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
Subway is serving up a special new sauce, bursting with flavor in every bite. The new Savory Collection is a tropical sweet and spicy sauce made with a combination of spices, habanero peppers, thyme, onion, black pepper, ginger, citrus juices, and molasses.
So good. Wow. Sensational. Delicious.
Subway's Savory Collection pairs perfectly with our oven roasted chicken or steak sub. Savor the flavor. For a limited time, only at Subway. Subway. Eat fresh.
Research tells us that the best age for parents to start having conversations with their children about the dangers of underage drinking is when their kids are 9 years old. Studies show that parents have a significant influence on young people's decision to drink. So talk, they are listening. The NDC offers parents advice on how to talk to their children about underage drinking and prepares you for the tough questions like, did you drink as a child? For tips, log on to www.ndc.ky. This message was brought to you by the National Drug Council and Radio Cayman.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. And thanks very much for joining us. And thanks to the opportunity to speak with our good friends from Health Today, as it reminds us of the importance of our health and well-being. And as we speak to Dr. Rashmi Sharma, consultant surgical oncologist and oncoplastic breast surgeon. I was going to look up what that oncoplastic word means, but
I will tell you.
You will tell us. And of course, the global sales of marketing, Ms. Tiffany Dixon Ebanks. Education is empowering, is a great equalizer, but also comforting, and to know that we have things. For some of us, especially now, we do not want to travel. For some of us, we don't think we can travel, maybe because of money, maybe because of work, maybe for any reason. So having resources here is important. But so we were asking about the treatments, but oncoplastic.
Yes. Coming to the mammogram, because mammogram is detecting breast cancer early, so we don't have to do a mastectomy, which means removing the breast. So if you don't remove the breast, if you have early cancer and if you're removing the cancer, then you need oncoplastic treatment. What is oncoplastic treatment? It has two parts, meaning you do the full oncological treatment which is required, and if you have a depression or a defect there, we fill it up with tissues from nearby areas so that it's not a complete reconstruction of your breast, but it's remodeling of your breast which happens. And only thing is you have to have radiation. So we are getting radiation also, so that when we do an oncoplastic treatment, we complement with the radiation and you don't have to get a full mastectomy or full breast reconstruction. That is oncoplastic.
And I think the good thing there, as Dr. Rashmi said, a lot of patients have to travel off island for that radiotherapy that's needed. So that is what the Camana Bay facility of Health City is going to be offering in the very near future. So I know a lot of persons listening now who go away for those treatments, or maybe they're facing this for the first time. There is that added hope that you don't have to then get on a plane and go to seek that treatment, which is necessary for you to live, a really healthy life after those kind of procedures.
And because radiation is a 3 to 5 week treatment, people don't like to be away from their homes for this long.
Away from their
So
families.
if we have the treatment here, you'll be so comfortable at your home and get the treatment right in Cayman Islands.
The comfort, the convenience, but also the cost factor as well, right?
Yes.
We have a question off here asking about when women have had, breast augmentation and the like. What impact, if any, would that have on the potential for increase in breast cancer, or if they have had and now detected breast cancer, how does that play in?
Breast augmentation as such does not increase your risk of breast cancer, but the thing is detecting it is maybe a little difficult because you have to have special views on a mammogram, you have to have special other investigations. But yes, if you've had some silicone implants, there is one type of a silicone implant which does give you a little higher risk of some other type of cancers, which we should be aware of. Otherwise, breast cancer, it does not increase in an augmented breast.
Okay. And I will go back to the treatments. I know immunotherapy is coming up. Maybe you can tell us about that. But what is available here? We know radiation is coming.
Yes. We have, as an adjunct to the surgical part, once we have diagnosed a patient as breast cancer, some patients need chemotherapy before surgery, some patients need it after surgery. So we have all kinds of chemotherapy available on the island. We have Dr. Vinita, who's been here for the last 8 years, and she'll take care of all breast cancers. Yes. The other is we do have immunotherapy also available, and we have targeted therapies using all the monoclonal antibodies that are available in the world. We can be using it here. The other thing is we'll be having radiation also, and we have other supportive measures which are required for treatment. Everything will be available on the island.
Yes, and just to add to what Dr. Rashmi has quite rightly said, at our Camana Bay Clinic, all the chemotherapy, the immunotherapy, hormone therapy, blood transfusion, we actually now have a new oncology daycare suite based at the Camana Bay Clinic. So that is actually up and running. It's a recent addition. We have those services also at our East End facility. So, depending on where you are on the island and the convenience in terms of where you work and live, and where it's more convenient to you, or push, we're trying to make these services available to everyone, within, accessible to persons wherever they are. And for patients who are going through cancer, Dr. Rashmi, the doctors will tell you that, and if you know anyone who is going through it, it can be a very emotional experience as well. And so, however, we can make it easier for you to have access to these treatments when you need it in a comfortable environment. I think that is very important. That's one of the things that we want your listening audience to know as well. Health City has generally always been patient-centric, looking at meeting the needs of patients and saving lives and helping people to live their best lives. But in the last 2 years, I think it has become very evident across the world, not just in the Cayman Islands, that with global pandemics and whatever else, the more comfortable we can make it that patients feel coming in to see us, it just sets everyone up for a better outcome and a success, to have a success story. I came, I caught it early, I did the treatments, I followed what Dr. Rashmi told me to do, and I'm on my road to recovery, right? So I just want to say thanks to all the doctors like Dr. Rashmi. I know that's like a little plug from me. Just thanks, and keep on doing what you're doing.
No, and I, if you don't mind, Ms. Tiffany, because this is a small community in terms of the geographical size. Okay, we're 100,000 people, whatever the statistics would indicate. It's still a small number of people. But the service helps one, it helps all of us, from a co-worker to that loved one, but the region as well. And I think, and as you shared, Ms. Tiffany, the notion that you have the daycare suite either in the Kamana Bay facility or in East End, so those who may find because of work or residence which one's convenient. To that point, is the determination for the patient as to where they go for the daycare suite, or is it the physician say, well, I need you at Kamana Bay because of convenience, or I need you at the East End facility when it comes to the daycare oncology suite?
It all depends on the patient's comfort and their choice.
Okay.
Yeah, they can go anywhere. They can get their chemotherapy anywhere, both the places where you want. If you want it at East End on one day and the next chemo you want it, you can do that also.
Okay.
It's like that.
You know, and I'm glad, and it's for me it's commendable that you offering up a special 150. Yeah, I think the numbers would probably bear that it costs a lot more to deliver, but for some of us, even in these tight economic times, that is an investment in our health and well-being to dispel that particular concern. I can share with you that the last promotion we had, Ms. Tiffany, where you were offering up, for people to come in and get their check. There are a lot of
I think it was the cardiac.
Yeah.
Cardiac check, yes.
A lot of people responded to me and said, you know what, that was money that they saw as probably their best outlay, for the year, because it gave them a peace of mind. And most of the men, we tend to ignore little things, we out of shape and overweight, we're inactive, and all of a sudden you feel these little flutterings, and now that you know there wasn't anything serious. So maybe the women in particular would now do this as well.
That's why I say gift yourself a mammogram.
Yes.
Every woman should gift themselves. If anybody gives them a gift or not for their birthday, you gift yourself a mammogram.
Or for Mother's Day.
Or for Mother's Day. Yes, Mother's Day, definitely. And get a mammogram done. Right. And then you'll be happy that it's a screening mammogram, nothing there, and you're peaceful for one more year.
Yeah, I'll try to ask the question the way it's on, written here. But this is someone who says, well, I'm a female, and she writes a little bit of things and relatively young, and her co-workers and her family members have said, mammograms are important, but it can be a bit uncomfortable because of this and that, and I try not to be too, what's the word, much of a prude, but maybe breast size and the person doing it. Is there anything you could say to anyone who has the slightest hesitancy? And we don't need excuses sometimes to avoid doing something.
See, as a doctor and as a person who's got a mammogram done, I can say, yes, you should get a mammogram. There is some discomfort. I'm not saying there is no discomfort, but that's a very momentary. Just for that short 1 minute of a time, it's slight discomfort, because we are taking an X-ray of your breast. It's nothing else but an X-ray of your breast. Yeah. And that discomfort will not last for long. It's just at that point of time. So you should get a mammogram. I've experienced it, and it's nothing that you cannot bear it. It's just that. Okay. You should get a mammogram.
Well, thank you. And hopefully to this person that wrote that they would appreciate, hey, it's part of making you healthy. Let's see what we can do to be the supporting cast. Ms. Tiffany, thanks for arranging this. I look for future discussions. But anything else you want to share with our listeners?
I just wanted to remind persons of the actual the email address, because I know it might take a little time to get in people's head that we do have this new one. It's breastclinic@healthcity.ky. That's breastclinic@healthcity.ky, and we do have a dedicated line. So the number, if you want to talk about, or whether you want to talk about an appointment, or maybe reach out to someone like Dr. Rashmi or one of our other members on our team. 525-8871. That's 525-8871. And you can also find this online. Our social media pages are very active. We post information, daily. So just do the search for the mammogram special, and you'll see all the information there. There's one thing that I actually meant to do this at the beginning of the show, but I actually like the fact that we got into the meat of the matter and got the tips and tricks ahead of it. But I wanted to just share with your listening audience the specialty and the kind of background that Dr. Rashmi brings to Health City's team. She has brought with her over 20 years of experience in the field of oncology breast surgery from various centers of excellence in India and in the UK. Her patient-focused approach is what really helps her help her patients in coping with these cancer diagnoses, right? Doctors are special people, but I think she's a little bit extra special, getting that, across. So, and I say this, I wanted to stress it because I know that when John Public, a patient, is faced with a matter like this, the first thing you're probably going to go do is Google, and you're going to look up, can I trust this doctor? And, you're going to try to research everything that you can so that you can get the best possible care. So trying to give you a little bit of that information about Dr. Rashmi and what she brings to the table. There are two things that I wanted to point out that's on her bio, which I actually asked her right before we came in studios, and I said, Dr. Rashmi, is it okay that I point this out to the listening audience? So she has 2 awards that she got when she was doing her surgical training. So this is several years ago. She got the gold medal at Pink City Surgeons Society. Now, what she explained to me, and I don't know if you want to expound on it a little bit, of over 20 doctors that were in the room making presentations about their surgeries and their approaches. And she was the one that got that gold medal. And so there was another one, the Mary Thomas Memorial Prize for Best Lady Student in Surgery as well. Now, when she got that, she was explaining to me that that was what made her decide to specialize in the surgical component versus the other, right? So it, and this is several years ago. So when you're studying to be a doctor, you can choose your specialty and so on. So she had that kind of knack from then, and she's honed it over the years, bringing that same level of dedication, I believe, to the Health City and the Cayman Islands community. So don't let that kind of skill, determination, passion go to waste, Cayman Islands. So anyone out there, you find something, something is uneasy in your mind, you need to go talk with a doctor. Dr. Rashmi has the level of expertise in order to diagnose, treat, consult with her, ask her the questions. Don't be when you make an appointment, because I'm assuming some people will make an appointment. When you do make your appointment, ask the questions of the doctor while you are there with her. Don't hesitate and shy away, because there's no question that's a wrong question, right? And everyone is different in terms of what they experience. As Dr. Rashmi said, sometimes people have pain, sometimes they don't have any pain at all. So you just want to, have that level of comfort knowing that the doctor is there for you.
I want to add something to it. Yes, skills is important to treat a patient. But besides the skills, what I would like to add is a patient is very important for me. It's not the patient there. When I am consulting a patient, for me, it's that relationship that I build with that person. It's not, I don't see them as a patient. I mean, I have to know them, I talk to them, I have to build that relationship so that they can open out and allay their fears, their anxiety and everything. Then the treatment starts. It's not just, you do this and you come back. That is not what I want to do. Skill is for the surgical part of it, but it's more of at a personal level that we want to satisfy their fears, their anxiety, and whether what they want and what they don't want, whether we can come up to that level. That is what I want to do. So I am there. Anybody has any questions, they can come, they can talk, they can sit with me and talk about their fears, about anything, but I have to build that relationship to treat the patient. That is what I want to do.
And I appreciate that. And that comes across very evidently, that it's about not just the personalized patient-centric approach, but the sense of comfort and compassion. And that makes it. It's definitely always a pleasure. I look forward to our next discussion as we start to encourage more of our populace to look after their health, as it is our own true measure of wealth. Thank you both very much, Mel.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.
So the breast clinic at healthcity.ky is an email that you can reach out to. 525-8871 is the dedicated line, and for US $150, and with the US dollar taking the plummet it was going to take, it doesn't cost much. So it's a best gift to yourself if you call Health City and make that investment. So thanks very much again, Ms. Tiffany and Dr. Ashman. Thank you.
Thank you
for sharing with us. Now to our listeners, we're going to pause and take a break, and when we come back, more talk today.
You are listening to Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. The Ministry for Youth, Sports, Culture and Heritage is hosting a reception for the Carifta national teams in athletics and swimming who competed at the Carifta Games in Jamaica and Barbados over Easter. This year's Carifta athletes brought home a total of 65 medals. The invite-only evening reception will be held on Monday, May 2nd, 2022. In international news, U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin has said he hopes Russian losses in Ukraine will deter its leadership from repeating its actions elsewhere. Ukraine can still win the war if given the right support, he added. He also announced the U.S. would allocate an extra $713 million of military aid to Ukraine and other European nations. Russian President Vladimir Putin has accused the West of attempting to split Russian society and destroy Russia from within. Brazil's president found himself ridiculed for his COVID policies as the world-famous Carnival took place for the first time since the pandemic. During the Sao Paulo parade, a performer wearing a presidential sash transformed into a crocodile after receiving a vaccine on stage. President Jair Bolsonaro once suggested that a COVID vaccine side effect could turn people into crocodiles. The team behind the show said the jab at the president was a little joke. These are your latest headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab. Blood test, x-ray and mammogram, all of that is MedLab. Affordable fees and friendly service, a full professional team. MedLab is always comfortable, MedLab is always clean. For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Call 949-7331 and ask about MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
Busy, busy, busy. Feel like there's not just enough hours in the day. Savannah Pharmacy, service to make your life easier. Now you can WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045 and pickup is just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. Savannah Pharmacy, wholesome values with modern conveniences.
Raising children is costly. That is why each year the Ministry of Education provides, through its Early Childhood Assistance Program, funding to assist Caymanian children to attend an early childhood center. For early childhood funding assistance, call the Early Childhood Care and Education Unit at 244-3155 or 936-0267 or download an application form from the Ministry's website at www.gov.ky/education and email the completed form to ecap@gov.ky.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you very much for joining us. Our schedule indicates that we have a guest slated, but I'm reminded, when it's live radio, the show must go on. So we shall have some open line until that materializes. 2 p.m. we have a chance to talk to some of the laboratory professionals, but between now and then, the next 49 minutes and 24 seconds, we'll have a discussion. If our guest appears, then we'll have that. But if not, we want to hear from you. So let us give you some options to call and share your thoughts. 949-8037. 7 quick, easy digits. Probably don't cost a whole lot, but with the rise in costs, who knows, it might cost more than we realize. So, toll free with the compliments of Flow. Let us pick up the charge for you. If you can access that number, 1-800-534-8255. And if you prefer to send a voice note, or you just want to, have it so we read it for you, well, WhatsApp 925-3261. Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thanks for calling. Buenas tardes. Good afternoon. All right. Hello. We will find how to connect. I love technology, but I don't think we should become a slave to it like many have to money. It's a great servant. Never let it be the master. 949-8037, 1-800-534-TALK, 1-800-534-8255. Call and share your thoughts with us. And as we get into our discussions, it was very, very enlightening and informative to have just in the studio the opportunity to speak with our good friends over at Health today. And as they talk about their promotion, live your best life. Could we, through this medium, encourage the women in our lives to go and look after yourselves and get your mammogram, talk to your physician. Good afternoon and welcome. Thanks for calling.
Hello?
Hey, good afternoon. How are you?
Good afternoon, Mr. Sterling.
How are you, sir?
How are you, sir?
I am blessed. How about you? Can you hear me okay, sir? I'm hoping that it's just, because of the rain, why the phone lines are a challenge. Can you hear me okay? Our voice is so familiar that if I, without any challenge, could almost imagine a very youthful gentleman. So hopefully we can get the phone connected and have that discussion so he can share as he chooses. 949-8037, 949-8037. Or toll free with the compliments of Flow, 1-800-534-8255. If you want to WhatsApp, 925-3261, and we will happily, either listen and play the voice note if that's your choice, or we will, read it for you if that's your intent. It truly is an honor to return. I'm very grateful for the proved time to be off. I find that there are a couple times of the year that it is important for us to sort of step away, from our desk, as it were. Christmas, without question, and Easter, without compromise. We should reflect on that. So to my wonderful colleagues, in alphabetical order, Mr. Nida and Kathy and Ray for hosting as they did those 8 days that we were off. As it feels, I was gone too long because I missed you guys so much. From the perspective of all the things I wanted to achieve, I wasn't gone long enough. And if I could rewind perhaps the clock and undo perhaps something that may have led to a great loss, well, it would be good as well. But I'm reminded, you make your bed, you lie in it. Maybe I'll find a way to make amends. 8949-8037, 1-800-534-8255, or WhatsApp 925-3261. Now, good afternoon.
Hello.
Good afternoon. How are you? Are you able to hear us? Yeah, hello? Well, diligence and perseverance, sometimes they pay off. Sometimes it's not just an exercise of patience. It's also about just pressing on and pressing in. It may be, think back to friends and family who maybe want to attain some qualification, want to pass some examination, want to demonstrate some level of proficiency. and they spend a lot of time studying, practicing, rehearsing, researching to one day attain that success. Not quite sure exactly in this instance what is transpiring that makes that call so difficult to connect, but perhaps another can try dialing in just to make sure that it was not an issue with water in the phone lines, as it were. We can find a way to, so far, transmit things to the air except electricity. Maybe that'll be the next great invention. 8949-8037, 1-800-534-8255. WhatsApp 925-3261. Also very cognizant that as the month of April draws to a close, many are of the view that their days and weeks and months seem to be, accelerating. And before you blink, it'll be Christmas, and it'll be probably the 22nd century. So what are we doing now to not just make our own lives better, improving the quality of our lives, but those around us? Reminded that if we invest in improving and doing our very best, then it will be the same for all. So can we find a way to, without somehow being, castigated as naive or other less than complimentary commentary? 8949-8037, 1-800-534-8255, or WhatsApp 925-3261. Or you can call 949-8037 if you so choose, and share your thoughts with us as well. I was looking at a number of things while I was off, not just to read casually to enjoy, but to at the very least be somewhat aware of what is happening in the region and in the wider sort of world around us, and not to cause people to feel any sense of greater angst, but the notion of food security, and the idea that the quality of food, the availability of it, and the price props on the plates of many, no pun intended. We're seeing concerns that because of the increasing tensions in Europe, that may translate into not just food shortages. It could affect many commodities. Reminded from many comments of not just parliamentarians, but people we look to, that the answer to war isn't more war but peace. The notion that it's diplomacy, not guns and weaponry, that should lead to a sense of dialogue and hopefully come into sensible resolution. But it seems increasingly that some want to show their might by either their economic or military sort of approach. And I share that to say that there were a couple of students coming to the end of sort of their school year, and the discussion being had was that how is it that they're expected to inherit a world and make it better when those in charge seemingly apt to want to destroy it, destroy the physical plant that exists, continue to divide people through any and every sort of approach. And then even if, end of the day, the younger ones, these students, are more inclined to seek unity, they're almost impossible to achieve anything because there's nothing left to work with, from the perspective that the waters and the seas and all the stuff have been polluted and no longer potable, to the forests and the farmlands have been decimated, to the idea that the air quality is so bad that they can't even live, to the notion that the ability to socialize has been hampered. And it got me to thinking, as the supposedly adults in the society, as the parents, as the politicians and policymakers, as the principals in the businesses and the principals in the schools, what are our principles? What is it that should be our guiding ethos? Are we looking at having on our tombstone that he died with the most, or is it that he lived a life and contributed the most? Well, if you can get through, give us a shout. Dial us up on 949-8037 or call us toll free at 1-800-534-8255 or WhatsApp 925-3261. To the young gentleman that was trying to call, not quite sure the challenge with the connection. We could hear you somewhat. We do recognize that sometimes it's just the nature of the game, the little trial and tribulation that tests our resolve and to determine whether or not we have the fortitude to press on. So that may be on this Monday. That may somehow feel like for some just another a day that brings about more mayhem. Well, let's let it be one that is positive, even in the midst of all that we have been struggling with. It would appear that from one day to the next, not just globally, not just regionally, but right within our very small community, there things transpire that make it extremely difficult for many to find that extra little bit that they need to get up and go. And I think it reminded of the words of Martin Luther King that time is always right to do the right thing. And we can't wait for somebody else. We can't wait till some other time. We just need to do the right thing now. Kennedy reminds us that if something needs to be done, if not now, when? If not me, who? And maybe that's where we need to get to. The idea that if we don't do that thing that is right and do it now because it's always the right time to do the right thing, and we leave it for somebody else. Well, economists talk about free riders. Many of us are willing to enjoy the trappings of the office, enjoy the benefits that come from the efforts of others, but we're not willing to exert anything. In a minute, it's no longer convenient or beneficial to us. Well, we'll step aside. Well, more of us need to step up, stand in the gap, and be willing to put in the energy and the effort to ensure what the outcomes are as productive and as positive. So, what do we do? Well, we can certainly point fingers at those people, whether they're the special interest to be labeled, whether those are the politicians, or we may have some in the past may have labeled, the merchant class, the bourgeois, we give them all sorts of labels, that they entitle the elite. But can we ourselves do something? Imagine, if you will, a teacher in front of the class, a captive audience, an opportunity to influence the minds and the actions of the students, whether it's a very young group of students or whether it is graduate students. That instructor, that professor, that educator can influence. What is the ethos of that person? What is it that that person who is at the front of the class conveying to those still very impressionable minds, from the grad student to the kindergarten to the grade school to that one who's about to graduate from high school? All minds are very impressionable. And so are we asking for those educators to be so equipped with a sense of ethos, ethics, and integrity that at the end of the day they're imparting a collective vision to empowering, informing, and including a genuine, concerted approach to a society that looks at each one as being valuable and meaningful and beneficial, and a living and breathing individual that needs to feel a sense of safety and security. Well, maybe we're not. Try the phones once more. Good afternoon and welcome. Thanks for calling. Hello, good afternoon. Hello, good afternoon. All right. Well, hey, I like the persistence. It will pay off. I also appreciate that it can be frustrating sometimes. Hello, good afternoon. Hello, good afternoon. All right. Well, if it's, one thing that I think we can share is that the Chinese proverb, the longest journey begins with a single step. It just shows that you ever seen a very young, motivated student trying to figure out, the solution to some assigned problem. We may see it in our fathers sometimes as they tinker in the garage trying to, get that engine that hasn't turned over in the longest time to fire. Hey, good afternoon, working phones. Are they here? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon, sir. How are you?
I'm not too bad, but it sounds like we might get some problems into our conversations, meaning that some interruptions seem like it's on the line.
Yeah, I believe one of the phone lines, from what we can see now, the other callers were not able to get through when it rang through, so I'm glad that you were able to.
Yeah, I tried for the second time, I guess, or maybe it could be the third time. But anyway, we're on right now.
There you go. Thank you.
Yeah, so what's your opinion about the war that's going on up in Ukraine, if I may ask?
You may indeed, I'll be honest with you. It's something that as I look at, I am taken with the comments of a few parliamentarians and a few of the European countries that ask, why is it that when we see similar plight of people from other countries, they don't seem to get the same level of not only respect and coverage, but the same level of concern and response. By that, I'm also taken with the view that some of these similar parliamentarians, and I use them specifically because they're the ones that may have the access to at least influence legislation and policy. When they question the merits as well as the motivation for sanctions, and wondering, who suffers as a result of sanctions against despots, and when is it that the despot is such a label, even if the one is from Europe or North America versus some other country that we may ascribe a particular label. And then I'm also concerned about the increasing willingness to discard human life as opposed to sit down and put aside egos and see if you can come to some semblance of diplomacy and dialogue. And then I look at the Cayman context, and if you would allow your counsel to guide me, when a few people in our community for decades, but certainly for the last few years, have expressed growing concern about food security and question the need to perhaps, as we've seen again in Europe, a few of the countries' parliamentarians, they are saying, well, should we leave it to private enterprise, for instance?
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to let you go because you're not coming in clear. It's a lot of static, so I apologize. But
No.
I'll try later. Okay.
Well, but thank you for telling me, because the only thing worse than talking to yourself is when you start to answer yourself. So maybe I can ask through this vein. Those who are listening, I know that there were some problems after increase in utilization of the available frequency as more radio stations come online. That there's a challenge with how do they put it? Not hearing one station because another station is somehow close to the band. So can we ask two things? One, are you able to hear us? And if so, is it clear? Or as the caller just shared, as he is listening to us on the phone, is a lot of static. There's no point. And being that sole voice in the wilderness, you may as well be the one at the front, even if it goes down in flames. But at least you're making a difference. Huh? So, give us a shout, even if you just want to do so off air, whether or not you can hear us. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
You see how hard it's raining?
Yeah, and I don't have time to fight traffic and get my lunch from Subway. I have so much work to do.
Why don't you order Subway by using the Let's Eat or Bento app? Save time, stay dry, and get your sandwich fast.
I never thought of that. Great idea. I'm going to order now.
Order me a veggie pizza while you're at it.
And a cookie platter for the office.
Too busy at work or home? Is the rainy weather stopping you from dining out? Order your favorite Subway sandwich, wrap, or pizza through the Let's Eat or Bento app with fast and reliable delivery. Subway, eat fresh.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointment.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Ask our professional team about the benefits of cutting-edge technology with MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
Make your house into a home. Welcome to Brand Source Home Gallery, your source for premium products and a premium experience. We'll design and install your dream kitchen with crafted cabinets, complemented with elegant appliances. We'll fill it with quality houseware and cookware. Custom-designed closet and storage solutions organize and beautify any area. And with the finest bedding, you'll get a perfect night's sleep knowing Brand Source Home Gallery has everything you need to make your house a home.
Your Radio Cayman 6 p.m. news, Monday through Friday, is brought to you by Logic. Your life connected.
Every day in the Cayman Islands, nonprofits and their volunteers work tirelessly, improving our communities and the lives of the people within them.
With GiversPlanet.com, you can make a difference by supporting a fundraising effort or starting your own. Givers Planet provides an online solution to conveniently raise money for your worthy cause. Whether you are fundraising for medical needs, education, animal welfare, youth programs, religious missions, school PTA efforts, or a nonprofit.
Simply create your fundraiser at GiversPlanet.com and spread the word to your local and international supporters so that they can visit and make a secure online donation. Start fundraising online today with GiversPlanet.com.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thank you so much for joining us. And thanks too to that last caller for, like the one before, kept trying to see if they can get through, and for letting us know that there was a bit of a static in the lines. We gather from those of you who share with us that is, where they're sitting in the way, clear reception. So let's hope, pray that we can make it, work for us as we go to the phones. Welcome. Good afternoon. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Sterling Dwayne. How are you doing this afternoon?
I am blessed, man. How are you?
Yeah, just letting you know that it was given trouble from this morning on the OC show. While it's coming in clear, I think, over the airwaves,
the phone lines.
It's very, very distorted in the reception of the phone.
Yeah, I'm so sorry, but I know. Hopefully it'll work. So it's can be disheartening and taxing, no? Are you hearing it any better now than you did earlier?
Honestly, I can't make out what you're saying at all. like I'm telling you, I want to call to let you know.
No, thank you.
What it's doing.
Yeah.
But I can hear when you pause, that I can reply.
Yeah, but there's no point because you can hear what's being said, right? Very clearly. Yeah. But from the listener, can you, if I may ask, if you're able to, if you're able to hear me, can I ask, when you're listening on your radio or phone or however else, not on the phone, how audible is that? How clear is that? Okay, that's the challenge. Hey, thanks very much, man. And this is where it's going to be difficult to have the conversation, but maybe you can talk about it amongst yourselves. We get people questioning things and asking, just generally speaking, some to deliberately provoke some discussion, some to promote a series of questions. That's how teachers teach sometimes in order to get their children, students, to be critical thinkers and learners. For others, you just want robots that you can program, and you don't want them to think. You just want them to, what is it, the poem? As we misquote sometimes, mine is yours not to do or die, yours not the reason why. The idea that as we look at what's unfolding, to what extent are we able to engage each other? So, 8949-8037, 1-800-534-8255. Or if you want, try, the WhatsApp, 925-3261. And increasingly, we find the challenges before us, not only to get a message from one part to another, for it to be received as it was sent, and for the response to be as informed and some would say as constructive as possible. That level of communication, whether amongst spouses or colleagues or the like. And then, for others, it's the idea, for some people, they don't want to hear anything anybody else has to say because they're the only one with the mic or the position. 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255. Or you can WhatsApp 925-3261. Thanks to many of our listeners who share that, although it seems that you can't hear what is being said if you're a caller, as you listen through the radio, it's loud and clear. That's helpful. Perhaps the only thing now is that we need to find others who love to hear the sounds of their voices, and who may take the opportunity to act as if they're, on stage and performing a monologue or soliloquy, as it were. Perhaps it's good that I had a break and maybe expected that the voice and the brain has been refreshed, and so therefore I can actually acquiesce to that, but it's not productive. It's more beneficial if we have a discussion. So try once again if you can, 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. Well, let's take the opportunity now to ask the question as you think of and sort of reflect on so much. If we are in a society that is so dependent on technology that, how many of us physically have a radio? How many of us, when we listen to radio, as it were, or we watch video, or we get our information that is dependent on some sort of internet-based access? Now, think about that in terms of physical currency. The legal tender of their country, or the physical possession of money. You have it in your pocket. There was a time not long ago, financial planners would say, have a budget, stick to your budget, don't use your credit card unless you know that you have the funds to pay the amount that you have spent when the bill comes, so therefore you avoid not just late fees and interest charges. Now, sometimes you may find it helpful to do that, and you have a plan, but it's very easy, not just because the interest rates may be 18, 19, 20, 30%, whatever it is. It may be 8, 10, 15%. It is still an increased cost, increased burdens that you place on yourself. And there were some that would say, when we use checkbooks, like we now do debit cards, to pay attention, that money which you write in a check, or that you're going to use your debit card, that there's sufficient money in that account so that when you present the check or you make the electronic swipe transaction, that there'll be funds. There may be another account that you transfer money from now and again to ensure there's sufficient money in the account that you're using, but you may forget You may think you have done it and realize that you didn't, and lo and behold, there isn't sufficient funds there. Now, with that in mind, think again to the physical possession of cash. Those who understand cryptocurrency better may tell you that there was a time when many of the established sort of financial institutions and the policymakers were crying foul, didn't like the idea of this new technology coming in. They probably allege, rightfully or otherwise, justified or not, that this could lead to all sorts of nefarious activities. The inability for the financial regulators to track money laundering and terrorism financing and the like. Whether that's the case or not, we still see it being a concern, and that's why we have the AML legislation and all other things, all seemingly helpful to make sure that the world is safer and the like. But if we were to transition, as some seemingly have been apt recently to promote, a sort of a central, bank digital currency platform that moves away from the seemingly costliness of having physical cash, the amount of money that it takes for instance, in the Cayman community to bring in other currencies, let's say the US dollar, to the physical cost of printing and maintaining that physical currency, whether it's coins or whether it's paper, that maybe it would be prudent to not have to deal with that. Perhaps not just the cost, but seemingly now, the idea that this money is literally dirty money and so prone with germs that it could lead to massive infections, such that jokes have been made that we'll provide a new laundering service. You bag up all your money, leave it outside, and we'll come and wash it for you. From the jokes aside, but what if doing so, when you get rid of the physical currency, and there was, without any maliciousness, just a simple little glitch, and your financial wealth is wiped out or interrupted just for a moment, so that you can't do any physical transactions, no matter how much money you have, because that little chip or card or thing on your digital device isn't able to properly connect to the system in order to ensure that you have money. Think of two things. One, after Hurricane Evan, just in the Cayman context, many of us had cash but didn't have it on us at the time. Our debit cards may or may not have been accessible, or credit cards, or for some reason, we just couldn't utilize them. Having a few dollars physical cash may have been beneficial, but not even in the sense of a disaster like that. It's not as common, but I'm sure it has happened. You're in a place, whether it's at the cashier at the supermarket or at your favorite restaurant, and it probably happens when you have a significant other in attendance that you want to impress, or this family or some other event, and lo and behold, you're embarrassed because your card is declined or it's not going through, or there's some issue. Not because there isn't any money in the account, or it isn't because you're not good for whether it's a $10 purchase or a $1,000 purchase. For some of us, not to boast, but that is not a lot of money. For some of us, we don't have sufficient funds, and $1 extra is just too much. It's not in our budget. But when you have the physical cash, well, you have the physical cash. But being in a position where you think, because you have this piece of plastic or this digital device and all the money, but it's not accessible. Well, what if it's an inadvertent or even a malicious attempt, and all of a sudden you're not able to access the money to pay, for that wonderful meal you just enjoyed, or that purchase that you need so urgently to go home to finish off your craft project. Not because you don't have the money, but for whatever reason the system is down. Think too to the growing concern of cybercrime and cyber attacks, and the ransomware that is taking the denial of service that we hear our IT experts talking about, where a particular company has been targeted and for a period of time they're being held ransom and hostage and saying, well, you know what, if you don't pay us this or you don't do that, well, you're not going to be able to access your things. And the companies may quietly, maybe even have insurance now to cover that. For them, paying that amount of money is worth it because they don't want the embarrassment, or they know that if they're offline for an extended period of time, it's going to cost them even more. Well, what if that extends to companies, to countries, to you as an individual, for whatever reason? Something to consider. Well, I'm told we got the quick break to take. We do have our 2 p.m. guests waiting in the wings. When we return, let's see what shakes. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointment.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Ask our professional team about the benefits of cutting-edge technology with MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
We think it's time you crossed over to a new vehicle. And with the Toyota Corolla Cross now at Vamp Motors, you have plenty of reasons to make the switch. The crossover body and hybrid engine is a sleek design in a sturdy structure with a spacious interior that opens to extensive cargo space. Stuck in traffic? The high-performance self-charging hybrid system automatically switches between gas and electric vehicle mode, helping you lower both fuel costs and carbon emissions. The Corolla Cross has full LED lighting inside and out, an integrated display audio system with energy monitor, and a dual-zone climate control system to ensure comfort for all. Test drive the new Toyota Corolla Cross Hybrid today at Vamp Motors, Walkers Road.
Every day in the Cayman Islands, nonprofits and their volunteers work tirelessly, improving our communities and the lives of the people within them.
With GiversPlanet.com, you can make a difference by supporting a fundraising effort or starting your own. Givers Planet provides an online solution to conveniently raise money for your worthy cause. Whether you are fundraising for medical needs, education, animal welfare, youth programs, religious missions, school PTA efforts, or a nonprofit.
Simply create your fundraiser at GiversPlanet.com and spread the word to your local and international supporters so that they can visit and make a secure online donation. Start fundraising online today with GiversPlanet.com.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program. Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back, and thanks for joining us. And at 2 o'clock, right after the headline news, we got a chance to talk to you about the Caribbean Association of Medical Technologists as they talk about, Laboratory Week and the celebration. But let's see if we can have some open line between now and then and work as best as we can with what is before us. Recognizing that many of our callers have messaged to share that thankfully from where they're at they can hear us in a clear audible manner, but sadly when it's an attempt at telephoning us so that we can have a conversation, well, that isn't as easy to do. So what do we do? Well, try us and give us a shout. 949-8037. Let's see if it works for you. Or use the Flow toll-free line, 1-800-534-8255. Or, WhatsApp 925-3261. And again, very, very grateful to our excellent team for sitting with us and sharing and helping us, to ensure that the show continues. While I had a small, little refreshing break. Now I'm told that, well, gotta find another way to reach us because the phone lines seem to be challenged. You ever think, even before you make the plan, boy, you should take the day off. And honestly, it was 8 days of scheduled vacation. I should just rounded up to an even 10 and taken today as well. It's always good to follow your mind. I mean, it was a wonderful rain through the night and early in the day. It rained so hard that the Jillian had to get a towel and blow dryer to dry my hair. It got wet, and it would have been a better day. As he does his best, Uncle Jesse, laughing impression. But that's it, But I was away for too long, and I missed you guys too much. And it's good to be back. Well, we're going to make the most of it, 949-837, 1-800-534-8255. Try it again. It's probably not working, but try. Nothing beats to try but a failure. Or 925-3261 is the WhatsApp. And to that last WhatsApp message. Well, thank you for sharing the love and for extending that you too, missed my absence. Hey, it's good to be, what they say, gone but not forgotten, and to be forgotten and not gone. It's interesting. We have made many a joke or attempt at jokes, perhaps to cope, somewhat deal with what has been transpiring. I joke and jest and say, boy, last year has been a long century, or the year before was even longer. It's perhaps part of the coping mechanism that we sort of employ in order to make it through. Others use different ways to manage their angst, to address it. But if I could, as I reflect on our monthly Mental Health Matters show, Dr. Alexandra Borden has been so wonderfully in her continued endeavors to help to produce and facilitate. That there are times, we need to seek professional, assistance. It's not a sign of weakness. As we talk to trained, reputable, counselors, psychologists, and the like, to deal with it. I look at a comment from one of our friends who shared recently, stop posting all your troubles online. Go to a bar like, normal people. Again, an attempt at joking. As one of the friends shared, she says, after a certain age, whether it's 30 or 50, stop taking on the weight and burdens of others. It's important that we do that we appreciate that if we don't look after ourselves and make ourselves a priority, that oftentimes we're not gonna perhaps be able to understand that. And if there's anything that she reminds us that we probably should stop wearing after we get to a certain age, it's the whole weight of others' opinions relative to what we're doing and feeling. And it is sad, I think, as I look at some of these comments here that have been shared by a few of our listeners, that on a day like today, with all that has been transpiring recently, that for the one day that the phone lines give us a challenge, it's like this. But I share that to ask, is it now more than ever evident that we don't only build in a sense of redundancy in our plans? You would think that, take for instance, a country would want to ensure that should something transpire in a certain area, that they have reserve, that they have another backup plan. Maybe it is now increasingly an opportune time to look at what is happening And just like we do relative to food security, we've seen, a bad nor'wester over, the Christmas period from time to time in that time of year when the ships may be challenged to get to the port. Well, when we build supposedly safe harbors, are we building it because we want to ensure as much as possible, as frequent access despite, the weather? Or are we building it because it's politically and economically convenient to benefit, subsets of our population? When we look at food security, are we saying that, we can do certain things to ensure that there is a semblance of supply, even though it may be limited in scope, just in case of something happening? Take, again, what is transpiring in Europe. The knock-on effects both on the cost of the goods but also the availability. And one particular product, if it's in short supply, may affect the production and supply of other products. It may not just be that oil, for instance, or that particular grain that may go into cereal or to bread or to, some other form of libation. That particular one item can affect the cost and availability of many other items. Is it that we need to look more closely on what is happening? Now, that leads me back to the discussion with our students, over the break. They are sharing that here they are, some of whom are about, God's willing, to graduate from high school and go off to universities. Some are entering their second or last year of university. Some are looking forward to graduate programs. Some are going to take a time off before continuing the tertiary studies. Some will take some time off before continuing, their postgraduate studies, maybe to work and hopefully to travel or to volunteer or to get a perspective. But they've all shared, irrespective of what transpires, what good is it if they, in my words, the older heads that are sort of entrusted with positions of authority and responsibility are running amok and making a mess of things. What's going to be left to them? You ever had a situation where, whether it's the mangroves that have been inadvertently or by, approval removed, or a tree that has either just through the sheer, actions of nature have now been destroyed? It's going to take a long time, if ever, for that tree to be replaced. That tree itself may not necessarily be the one that is resurrected, but the 10 years or the 100 years that has stood, it's going to take another tree just as long once it takes root to do that. Well, it doesn't happen overnight. And with that in mind, these young students have asked, what are we doing to make sure that not just our future, because it will affect us, our safety, our security, the quality of life, but their future, their hope, their opportunities for prosperity, their opportunities for economic success, their opportunities for socializing and enjoying life. If we continue to war and to ravage and to destroy, something to consider. Well, when we come back from the break, please rejoin us as we welcome an opportunity for the next half hour to talk about, the laboratory week and the importance through them to look at perspective, other educational pursuits, employment, and endeavors. So stay tuned for Talk Today.
Continuing the Caymanian tradition.
Let Cora keep my ground so clean.
The heart and soul of the Cayman people. Thank you for keeping the culture alive.
Let's read the news every day. From East End to Georgetown, down into West Bay.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Zollins. An inadvertent data breach at the Ministry of Border Control and Labor has identified suspected fraud by a number of recipients of the Displaced Tourism Employees Stipend. The tourism stipend started in 2020 under the auspices of the Ministry of Tourism, which at the time conducted registration surveys to collect information to determine eligibility for the payments. The criteria required that applicants provide sworn declarations regarding their employment and financial status. The suspected cases have been referred to the RCIPS Financial Crimes Investigation Unit for full investigation with the intention of prosecution. In international news, dining on the likes of lab-grown meat or ground-up insects could lead to big savings in carbon emissions and water, as well as freeing up land for nature. That's the finding of a study calculating the environmental benefits of greener foods hitting our plates. Scientists say pressures on the planet could fall by more than 80% with such foods. A host of non-conventional foods are being developed with the aim of providing food rich in protein and other nutrients while being gentle on the planet by using less water and land. CNN's new owner says it will close the U.S.-based news channel's streaming service just a month after it launched. Warner Brothers Discovery says it will issue refunds to subscribers after the service is shut down on April 30th. The head of CNN has resigned, and hundreds more workers could be at risk of losing their jobs. This week, $50 billion was wiped off the stock market value of streaming giant Netflix after it revealed a sharp fall in subscribers. These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Zollins.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255. Let your voice be heard. And now, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back, and thanks very much for joining us. It's a beautiful, blessed place in which we inhabit, and let us all do our part to ensure that we contribute our very best to make the lives of others better. Always glad to be able to join with various professionals to celebrate their vocations, to be able to share with them the idea that we have so many opportunities for careers, but for fulfillment. And as we get a chance to talk to the Cayman Islands branch for the Caribbean Association of Medical Technologists, and Lab Week has been celebrated from the 24th to the 30th of April. If she doesn't mind, I think many times the fees of Lab Week is Mr. Shoy Duncan, right? No, we, despite what they may say, Mr. Duncan, is always humor. So could be on great respect to your colleagues. Start with you first. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I think I just have a familiar face.
Is that what it is?
Yes. If you should ask me, I would tell you that the face of Laboratory Week and the cosmetic general is Mrs. Marcia Robinson Walters.
Mrs. Ebanks today?
Well,
I notice he's trying to marry me off.
I realize.
No, I just love the enthusiasm that you guys have all the time that you come. And for many of us who, perhaps even just through this discussion, I must share over the years, have come to appreciate that we go to the physician, the nurse comes in, and he does something, and then he says, the physician, she's ordered these things. It's the labs that process so much for that information to come back so that we can not only get the diagnosis, the treatment, and the like, but like so many things, we want to see the front of the house, what's going on. We never understand what's going in the kitchen. Mm-hmm. And if I can, I want to say thanks, not just for the competence and the professionalism, but the availability of resources so that we have this, continuity and knowing that we can get that almost, in many instances, that same day, same hour sort of response. So thank you very much for that.
You're most welcome.
It is really, really, really grateful. Well, shall I do the honors, Mr. Shoy? Are you, as you introduce Ms. Marcia Walters, and Ms. Fike, or should we have them do themselves? Because
we want to hear their voices, so we'll allow them to do it themselves.
All right. Well, Ms. Marcia, we're gonna.
Let's take off the mask.
Only if, we can. I should be able to play games, but you be comfortable if you want it on or off. It's I found that I should wear a mask, but you know what? It's radio. Oh wait, maybe on TV.
Okay, so my name is Marcia Robinson Walters. I am a medical technologist at the Health Services Authority Lab. I am also the president for the Caribbean Association of Medical Technologists. And yes, Cayman, we've become a branch in 2014. But from that branch, now we've had the spring of a president from the Cayman Islands. We give God thanks for that.
Amen. And it shows, well, I think in many instances, if I might for a second, you know, the Medical and Dental Council, the lawyers that have their associations, the accountants and the like, we're seeing the growing competence within the financial services sector. There are associations that are here are part of international associations. And to be able to be so prominently positioned in the region by the companies that we have here, that bodes well for the jurisdiction, but also for the region.
Yes.
And as the three you assemble, I think our listeners would come away appreciating the significant competency of. Well, Ms. Melanie, would you be willing to share with our listeners? Well, and welcome.
Yes.
It's always a pleasure.
I'm Melanie Fike. I'm working for Total Health. We are located in the Grand Pavilion, and I'm working in the laboratory. We are offering the complete set of the biochemistry and hematology work permits. So it's we get more into details about the job shortly. It's a very interesting field.
It is, and I'm glad from our discussions over the years, just generally how many of our students, as they leave high school, as they consider what they're going to do immediately following high school and continue studies, that they can enter the field relatively easy in understanding some of the competencies and qualifications and subjects, and then where that could lead to. So as parents, not just as educators, but as parents, we can guide our children. Hey, did you know this was available? I didn't know it a few years ago. I now know.
Exactly. So and thanks for the constant reminder. Every year, Lab Week is celebrated, and we do remind when we go also into schools to ensure that students get an understanding of what is done.
All right. Well, maybe.
Well, just to add, Mrs. Marcia Robinson Walters mentioned her position, but I don't think the listening audience understands. So. So I'm gonna explain. So my name is Sashoy Duncan. I work at MedLab, and I am the chairperson for the laboratory professional body in the Cayman Islands. Mrs. Marcia Robinson Walters is the president for the entire Caribbean. So she controls all laboratories, all lab professionals right across the Caribbean regions. I just wanted to break that down, and it just shows when you're committed to something, the sky's the limit.
Right.
Yes.
And if I might, without trying to, solely promote sort of HSA, but to have that level of certification that we have there, to see across from what you guys have shared over the years, the various labs and medical sort of facilities that are established on the island for a small place with such competence and proficiency and international accreditation. Wow, I mean, that is impressive.
And then what I like too about this body, CASMET, when we come together, we're no longer Total Health or HSC or MedLab, we're one lab, right? So we come representing the entire Cayman Islands as one lab.
Exactly. Yes. So, Dwayne, we can say that we're coming from a mighty long way. Our lab history is so rich, coming from tasting of urine. Can you imagine?
You remember?
Oh yeah.
Did you do that too? I mean, that was a long time.
I don't think I was even thought of at that time.
But people did that, and
yes,
they
did. Yeah. Yes, they did.
Microscopy, molecular technology is today some of the important diagnostic tests, procedures that are being implemented. Now, in the Cayman Islands, we are also looking at persons who used to boil the test tube with different reagents to get a glucose result. You see how long that process was? Now we can just do a finger prick. We get the result. We can do a quick 5 minutes test on our very exotic instrument, and we get a result.
I appreciate you sharing that, because I don't think many people appreciate. As you said, I think back to the movie way back when there's the professor in front of the first year students, and asking them about it, and there's the urine sample, and he sticks one finger in and says, oh, this definitely is a patient with a high sugar content.
Exactly.
And the arrogant student grabs it and sticks his finger in and goes, no, taste the urine. He didn't realize that, it was the index finger versus the little finger that was inserted, right? Observation. So if I could, Ms. Melanie, from that idea, as a laboratory professional, your role in the treatment of patients, I talked about earlier, we go to the physician, we want a result now, but it has to go somewhere for something to be done, right?
Yeah. So our job is actually playing a major role for the patients in the treatment. So we are helping to identify the diseases, we confirm the prognosis, and we also help to determine all the treatment. What type of medicine is the patient getting? Is he getting antibiotics? Is he getting anything else? Most of the people think, or what I've heard from a friend, oh, you just go to the lab, you just put the sample in the device and it's running. It's not like that. So with our job, it's really important to ensure you provide accurate results. And this includes you have to make sure your devices are running properly. Every morning you have to run the controls, you have to run calibrations, you have to deal with troubleshooting of the devices. You have to maintain your devices. When you receive the sample, you have to make sure this is the sample I need, this is the correct sample, this is the correct amount of the sample, the patient data are matching with this sample. So there are a lot of tiny little steps to really make sure everything is fine. Also, there's a lot of statistic behind it. You have to have a system to verify your accuracy. That all of this is working, or if you have to repeat a sample, so it's not. You really have to learn a lot to perform this job. And it's also you are helping other healthcare providers with what test selection is necessary, what type of specimen do you need. So in total you can say 70% of the medical decisions the healthcare provider is making is based on the laboratory results.
Wow, this is so significant. You talk about calibration and making sure that the control, so that every day, I can see in some instances for some of us, we do the same thing all the time. We may become complacent, fatigued. But if that machine isn't calibrated, if the control isn't there, if the environment isn't as pristine, you have to be very meticulous.
Right.
The slightest contaminant could create, a challenge.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah, and you need to be that trained to figure out, okay, where's the error? So you need to know exactly how your device is working, and then you can fix it.
Exactly, Dwayne, and that's the point I was trying to butt in to say that trained professionals need to be able to identify any issue that might come along the way in the testing procedure. So the pre-analytical phase, the analytical phase, the post-analytical phase of the testing has to be meticulously be carried out by trained professionals. Quality results can be possible only that way.
I mean, I would imagine, since we're sort of a financial-based economy, it's not unlike, the accountant sitting down and back in the day when you were, recording numbers manually, transposing a 7 or a 1, or you're hitting your spreadsheet and you inadvertently just hit the wrong digit. You can create it. I mean, that's just, financial loss. This is someone's life that is affected.
And that is why for every test tube, for every specimen that we have in front of us, for us, it's a brother, it's a sister, it's a family member.
It's a real person. Huh?
It's a real person, and we must be on our A game at all times.
Wow. If I then could ask, because Ms. Melanie, you alluded to the fact that the specimen, whether it's blood or urine or something else, you need to have the right quantity. For some of us, we go to the lab and they're drawing blood, and we're going, oh, geez, how much are you going to take me? A gallon? But if you don't have enough, then you may not be able to do the test that you need.
Exactly.
And sometimes we may need to repeat.
Yep.
Wow.
And it's actually not that much. So your body can cope with this. I know it looks like a lot when we take the samples, but it's not that much. Your body can deal with this.
Yeah.
You might have your colleague on this side of you that just walked out of the lab. Oh, they just gave one tube. But it depends on the number of tests that were ordered to be processed from that blood. Or if it's a urine, it could be that you need a whole jug instead of just a small container.
That's why I can't remember. Just kidding. But I think as we understand why you do it. I can think of either that young patient, the young child that needs draw, to that elderly patient where the veins and maybe dehydration affects how much, liquid, whether it's fluid, I should say, blood or urine that you can get to help to make your decisions and inform the patient. What about the medications? Not a physician. I don't play one on the radio, but I'm thinking the physician, she's thinking I have to give a course of antibiotics, but will this drug or this particular bacteria be resistant to this? You need to run tests as well to make sure.
Yes, exactly. That is mainly done in the microbiology section.
Okay.
And you might find that a physician may look at the patient and said, okay, based on what is happening, based on before doing the test, this is what is happening. But after doing the culture, which sometimes might take 2 to 3 days, that might impact changing that medication quickly because they find that this was not going to work for this patient.
Okay. If I could then ask, and you guide me because I'm just, this fascinates me, and you always introduce and expose to the areas that you're familiar with. This is just a new learning paradigm for me. But I'm thinking the patient has come in to the physician. She recognizes that let's just use antibiotics. This is going to be a treatment I'm going to provide. And I want to get the patient started as quickly as possible. So maybe it's a broad spectrum antibiotic. The blood work is sent, and 2 or 3 days later the culture comes back. Would that, if the antibiotic in this example is administered and the sample is then taken post the administration of the antibiotic, how and to what extent, if it would, impact your results in your lab?
So preferably, it's best that the patient, if the sample is done before the antibiotic is administered. Yes.
Right, because the antibiotics, if it's working, would minimize the presence of that organism, that bacteria that's causing the issue. So you may start your antibiotics, then you send the sample to the lab, and the lab comes back, no growth, or it's negative, there's nothing there, right, when there was something there.
Right. Just want to double check, as I am so engaged. Do we need to take that final break, Mr. Day? All right. When we come back, maybe we could just revisit, and I got to jump next into what we're doing, but tell us more about Laboratory Week and CASMET and the like. All right. Hey, education is instructive. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Busy, busy, busy. Feel like there's not just enough hours in the day. Savannah Pharmacy, service to make your life easier. Now you can WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. And pickup is just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. Savannah Pharmacy, wholesome values with modern conveniences.
The best foundation you can wear is glowing, healthy skin. The offices of dermatologist Dr. Wayne Porter specialize in enhancing your skin's well-being. Whether you're seeking advanced skincare, including any skin cancers, Botox, filler, cosmetic skin enhancements, or simply looking to reduce wrinkles, Dr. Porter offers a full-service dermatology and dermatological surgery practice. For more information, email drporterkman@gmail.com or call 946-9020. That is 946-9020.
Attention parents and guardians. Any child who is 5 years old by 31st August must be enrolled in an approved educational program, including government, private, or homeschooling program. Registration for the 2022-23 academic year begins on 1st April. Applications received before 1st April will not be considered. Detailed students' registration guidelines and forms are available on the Department of Education Services website at www.schools.edu.ky or by emailing edu.registration@gov.ky.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. And thanks very much for joining us. Thanks to not just the educators and our parents who encourage our children, but for professors like the ones we have in our studios to constantly through their continued work to not just invite and remind our students that career opportunities extend beyond the financial services sector, and healthcare is one place where every day is a joy and a reward. So as we talk about the Caribbean Association of Medical Technologists, the Cayman Islands branch, we have the president, one of our wonderful technicians over at HSA, Ms. Marcia Robinson Walters, our colleague from MedLab. I keep thinking, that commercial on Radio Cayman. Maybe we'll get the others to join. Mr. Troy Duncan and her.
Not a problem.
there we can go, man. For Total Health, Ms. Malefic. Thanks very much. I'm very, very glad that you would take time and share, not just to promote, Laboratory Week, but through the promotion, encouraging more of us to see the need to look at, that constant sort of cry by politicians relative to STEM education. This is where it plays off, right, Mr. Shoy?
That's correct. And I like the way you mentioned that there are other careers outside the financial sector.
Yeah.
Because you may hear we talk about lab professionals, and many persons know the phlebotomists or the vampires or the bloodsuckers, or
the lab rats.
The lab rats. They're familiar with those. But we have, so the vampires are actually called phlebotomists. Right.
You sure? Okay.
Yes, that's a correct.
I will call my friend Mr. Clark.
Sean Clark. Yeah.
Okay.
And Sean is an exceptional phlebotomist.
No, he's awesome.
He touches you, you feel nothing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then we have medical technologists. We also draw blood, but we test the sample and we verify and send out results. We have medical laboratory technicians who they will test, but they do not send out results. We have the microbiologist who focuses on those plates that we were mentioning and the bacteria. We have the pathologist who is the doctor, he's a medical doctor, so he's trained to... Yeah. That's any gender.
There you go.
Right.
Even Bruce Jenner.
Histologists, cytologists, they focus on tissues, cells, etc.
Yes.
So the field is wide, right?
Yeah.
They not only do you need to focus on just drawing blood, but you can do several other things.
And maybe if it's okay through, we want every single student to appreciate that, there's a career path they can enter, and then they can move and they become the MD. We see the pathologists who may be needed. The first pathologist, for instance, the individual who is there not just doing the autopsy because, but the research that can emanate. But even that young person who's thinking, I'm not quite sure. There's such a wonderful career path, Ms. Manley.
Yeah, that's actually the good part with this job. As we discussed over the years, all the science and everything is developing. So you have to keep up with this job all the time. You need to be up to date. What are the new science results? What new devices are on the market, just to improve your skills, your laboratory, just to be up to date. And I think this job is having a diverse set of job opportunities. You can work in hospitals, in the laboratory, in private laboratories. You can you can work for biotech companies. You can be included in science projects. You can also consider teaching. So this job has so many different opportunities, and it's a job with a lot of future, because we are there's so much developing and science and new tests and all of this, so it's kind of not ending.
Yeah, it is. Sorry, Ms. Marcia.
You think about the molecular biologist role, where a number of tests to get faster diagnosis. They're implementing a number of polymerase chain reaction tests, and so you have all of that embedded in the technology also to give faster results. Perhaps in the next few years we might, and it's happening now, we might not need to wait on a bacteria to grow for 3 days. In no time you can do the sequencing of bacteria and you can find out what's happening to find out if you can give the patient this drug, what is being the pathogen.
And as I listen to you, I'm thinking too that not only is that sort of professional who is working with it, they may, like in many other instances, say, you know what if we had this thing to aid me in doing this job better, more accurately, could create, from that person's sort of conceptualization an idea that leads to an innovation, maybe in technology, in innovation, and the like.
So currently, we have a number of PCR machines in the Cayman Islands. 3 years ago, that was not the case.
Right.
So we find that one lab is producing over 1,400, 1,500 PCR tests per day. Previously, that test would have to go to Carrefour and take a whole long time to come back. And
very much like treatment for cancers, for instance.
Exactly.
I don't necessarily maybe want to ask in this vein, but I'll leave it to, given that the U.S., I think, as we read in the media, from December last year, now discontinued PCR, maybe we'll see another measure. So with that in Cayman, how do we see that evolving in terms of your approach to testing for other things? The utilization of PCR continuing or a move to other things?
Definitely will be continuing and moving towards a number of new branches in the science where persons might not have to leave to go and do specialized tests, BRCA analysis for breast cancer, stuff like that. Yeah. Right now, the molecular lab is being set up in the Cayman Islands, so good things are happening.
Would it be okay as we get to some of the activities you have planned, maybe to draw an analogy and a parallel with, say, pharmacists, for instance, and I think back to, we had them on recently, and we're seeing that you can come as a pharmacist tech and you can move on. What are some of the, I don't want to say career ladders, but sort of the entry levels and the opportunities as you move up? You cursorily mention them, but out of school and you want to get into this field, where would you start? And as you go off to training, what sort of courses and how long are some of the training? Could that help us to graduating shortly, right, for some of us?
Okay, well, starting with phlebotomy, if you want to become a phlebotomist, then you can do a 6 months or even up to a 1 year training program. And after that, you can go ahead and you're officially certified. You can start drawing blood. However, if you want to become a medical technologist, then that's about a 4-year program. You get a bachelor's degree, you have to do your internship, you get to practice and see what it is like in a real lab. And then once you complete your bachelor's, then you'll become a medical technologist. You have other areas where that requires a master's. For instance, if you want to become a microbiologist or immunohematologist, then you need to complete your master's in that in order to. And then we have the doctorate. So if you want to become a pathologist, then you have to take it a step further.
And this is the thing where we've seen that, I think, as Melanie alluded to, whether you're working in Cayman or you're working in some other country, these qualifications allow you to be able to move your employment sort of job security is there.
It does. If you go to certain places, they may require an exam, right?
Yeah.
It's an entry exam.
A certification.
But that's about it,
yeah.
right?
But I mean, drawing blood is drawing blood. Understanding molecular biology, it's
the same across the world.
Yes, what they do doing is they give the certification exam for their jurisdiction. Currently, the Cayman Islands will accept certification from different jurisdictions. Jamaica, you can take the American Medical Technologies exam, and also there are different ones from the USA persons can take. So even now, the phlebotomists, different allied health professionals have to be certified in order to work.
No, for Lab Week, I think you deserve to be celebrated, and maybe in that celebration, more of us would be able to start to recognize that there are other career opportunities that are, if not equally rewarding, perhaps more so. What are some of the things you have planned, for your week? I know there's a wonderful church service yesterday.
Yes, I must say that the service was excellent. We were by Agape Worship Center, And I would like to give a big shout out to Pastor Andrew Evans and his wife, Emily Evans, and to the executive pastor, Pastor Emma Evans. Wonderful people, and it was a lovely experience for us. You can see the smiles on their faces.
It was.
And
good fellowship.
Yes, and not only were we there, but we were able to give back to our community while we went for worship, right? Because we had a lovely health screen right after. We had a community nutritionist there as well, and we were able to complete blood pressure, glucose, cholesterol tests. So it was a blessing
BMI,
for us to...
The BMI.
The body mass index, height, weight, yes. It was a blessing for us to be there and to share with the Agape family and with the wider community.
And this is where I think, seeing your approach, it's not just inclusive, but recognizing that health can be, not just spiritual during the church service, but after it can be the physical approach and that environment. I'm glad that you were able to do that, and I'm glad that you were there. What else do you have for the week?
So we have other activities planned. This coming Thursday, we're looking forward to a paint and sip. As lab professionals, we work hard. We work very hard.
Like talk show hosts, right?
And this just similar to talk show hosts. Blood, sweat, and tears.
There you go.
This COVID experience has...
Oh my God, Jesus.
Overwhelmed.
Yes, many of us, so exhausted.
Yep.
But we continue to push on. So this paint and sip is an opportunity for us to unwind, relax, take down our hair and just paint.
Thank you.
and enjoy the ambience. We're looking forward to having that done by Parcel 110 this coming Thursday evening. Yes.
May I say that you don't have to be a painter, because if you've never painted before, you will be guided, and when you finish, you're like, I think I'm a professional painter now.
Okay. I was hoping you would say, too, you don't have to have hair to come and let it down.
You don't have to have hair.
And even more so if you're not a painter, but I got some house projects, you can come and help.
And then...
So 7 o'clock, right?
That's right. Yes. And then a few weeks ago, a representative from the CASMET body, they were by Clifton Hunter doing a presentation on the laboratory field and the science field. And they've invited us back because they're having a career day this coming Friday.
Yes.
So we're going to have representatives there back at Clifton Hunter showing with the students there what you need to do to become a laboratory professional. We have an awards dinner coming up. That's the 30th of April, this coming Saturday at Georgetown Yacht Club. So once again, we're celebrating laboratory professionals. A continuing education session is also in line. On the 3rd of May, we'll be talking about bacteria, we'll be talking about diabetes, etc. And finally, we want to stay fit, get fit and stay fit. So on the 15th of May, it will be our annual 5K run walk. That's a Sunday, and there's a public holiday right after.
Time to recover.
So we look forward to having the entire Cayman Islands out with us.
Well, by example, your fitness, mental and spiritual and physical plays into it. So
right.
I like the way you approach the holistic approach that you have to it.
Yes.
It's if I could do it all over again, I think I wouldn't be a talk show.
You are
it's
doing
not too late.
Exceptional job.
It's not too late. Oh, she's so kind, Miss Valley.
You can cross-train in our profession. Because she loves to, she goes on the radio too. She's a radio host.
I know.
Okay.
I know.
No one can replace you, Dwayne.
I'm
You're
so
perfect.
I guess if Hoover could cross-dress, I guess we could cross-train, right?
Exactly.
Boy.
Hey, I'm a jokester at night.
Exactly.
Just kidding, man. It's all good. But I want to, not just during laboratory, throughout the year, and invite you, individual and collective, to come on through your association or your respective entities, because more and more of us, as parents in particular, engage ourselves in the lives of our children. We get them to appreciate that they can pursue, other career endeavors, that the avenues aren't as daunting. The accountant, math and science helps, but so too, if you want to get into the medical field, you're a lawyer. If that's what you want to be because your grandmother was, well, you know what, that's fine. But consider other things. Ms. Melanie, as we sort of, wind up our discussion, what else would you like to share with our listeners? And
No, it's really, I love my job, and I'm really happy I have chosen this this profession. So you play a really major role in the diagnosis and treatment of the patient, and it especially after all the COVID and everything, it really gives you a really good feeling. Okay, we were able to manage something, and we were able to help people, especially with all the PCR testing now. So we are able to determine all of these, and I think it was a nice working from all labs in the Cayman Islands working together, and this is it gives you a really good feeling that we have this collective working together.
And I think it was evident that the professionalism that as sort of the medical field that you demonstrated, with great deference to politicians and would-be pundits, the constant pressure that must have been placed on your sector to produce quicker, faster, more reliable results, to do things. Yes. You responded, incredibly in a wonderful manner. So it's great.
I know sometimes the pressure is there, but that's what we're placed there to do the job, and therefore we have to make sure that we balance and work everything, quality result and timely as possible, because we do understand the constraints. It's a pandemic. This was a situation where persons. This is very contagious, so you cannot allow persons to walk around with COVID, because so much persons can be infected. We don't know what COVID can do to persons. You might see somebody walking, you don't know that they are so immunocompromised, they pass away. So we do understand the pressure has to be there, but at the same time we have to rise to the occasion, and I think our laboratory professionals all over the Caribbean did an excellent job. In Cayman Islands, Cayman Islands was one of the countries who was mass producing results. PCR test, you're getting 1,500 results in a day.
Mass producing accurate results.
Yeah. I worked tirelessly doing it, and I really appreciate all the laboratory professionals from all the labs in the country who did such a marvelous job.
Well, that is without question. Your response was great. Well, thank you.
And Dwayne, just to say to our young folks, if you have a keen attention to detail, if you have that exploring mind, you want to figure out why does this happen and what goes on over here. If you want a job where you can find a sense of satisfaction, fulfillment, looking through a microscope and seeing those little particles moving around, doing a test and seeing the results and seeing how satisfied the recipient is, knowing that you've saved a life, you've helped someone, you've made a difference. Becoming a laboratory professional is the best place to be. And the science world is constantly evolving. Things are constantly changing. It's not constant. So once you are within this field, there's always something new. There's always something different. It's never boring, right? There's always something more.
Very
to
interesting.
learn, to see, and to do. And I'm sure there's going to be COVID 20, 21, 22, 23, 24.
And something, other things might just emerge.
And you know what? The laboratory, the science profession is an exceptional profession, because if you look, when we had that lockdown, the lab professionals and the doctors and nurses, they were still going out, still having to go and work. So as long as there's diseases, we'll always be here.
And this is why I like with having this discussion, is that we increasingly as a people start to appreciate that all goes on, but there's so much that happens behind. I use food as an example. Whether it's at the kitchen table, of our parents, or whether it's in the restaurant of our choice, that thing that happens in the kitchen is brought to the table in a way, and you can't enjoy it unless it's brought with that level of timeliness, accuracy, proficiency.
Yes.
That's only for your enjoyment, but here is life or death, and your work is unquestionably very, very incredible. So I really appreciate what you're doing, and maybe reminding people. Right, Ms. Melanie?
You're welcome. Thank you.
Well, Madam President, Always a pleasure. And please accept the invitation to come back. Not just,
Not
during
just
laboratory.
once a year. Right?
And may your festive, whether it's the fellowship that you have on Saturday, then the job, the career fair on Friday, the walk on, the Monday holiday coming up just the Sunday before.
I will be at the career fair, so everyone who's has got questions, they can come to me. I'm happy to show everything around. I will have a microscope there, and so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Dwayne, in as much as we are celebrating and looking at getting quality results, we are also celebrating our past as we are looking into our future. This is our sub-theme for the Cayman Islands. And I must point out to you that we have some pioneers in the field who started lab. And I must just mention Miss Iva Johnson Good. That lady was given the charge to start the lab in the Cayman Islands in 1956. Crash course. And by 57, she had to get it going. And she did it with grace and fervor. She's still alive. That is amazing. Looking young and prusy, walking around.
Yep.
And I know that has to be God's blessing on her. And we would want to say big shout out to her and a number of the trailblazers behind her, Miss Rebecca Smith, those early pioneers in lab services in the Cayman Islands, Miss Kathy Gomez. We just want to shout out to them.
Well, thank you for remembering them, because I think oftentimes we just like I endeavor to say to our listeners, you got the results from your physician, but do you understand what happened, what was necessary in order to get that so you can go. Yes. Well, those are the trailblazers.
That's right.
Miss Ivor, she looks just as young and sprightly as ever. Miss Kathy has, redefined herself into counseling, still offering up great service to the community. I can see good things coming from the 3 year later on. Who knows?
And Miss Kathy was with us yesterday at the church service. Yes, and she gave a speech as well. Yes,
amazing, man.
What's up?
Yes, it was.
But thank you all, and please, as you continue to go celebrating, know that you've earned this time to let your hair down. As you sip and what do you call it, Mr. Shoy? Sip and shine?
Paint and sip.
Paint and sip.
So you're going to paint, you can drink your favorite
libation of choice.
We are doing healthy drinks.
That's what I said, your libation of choice. I have my picked out, it's coconut water.
Coconut water. That's a very good one. Yeah. You can paint yourself under a coconut tree drinking that coconut water.
That's a thought. You know what? Let me just let me enjoy the laughter and the banter. But thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure. Always a privilege. And to our listeners, as a parent, encourage our children, as educators, remind our students that there are many, many wonderful career choices. With our guests in tow, may I just do a quick announcement on behalf of the Lions Club of Grand Cayman that this evening, as part of their PACE event, there's a prostate and colon cancer awareness meeting taking you. I don't remember. I always call it the Westmead United Church, but it's the official John Grier United Church in the hall at 7 p.m. So they have physicians there at the regular free PSA screenings. Again, lab work and work.
That's beautiful.
Very good.
7 p.m. This evening. If you need more information, call DJ Lynn on 916. Just kidding. Give us a shout there. And he says 925-121. That's tonight, 7 p.m. at the John Grier Memorial Church Hall. Mr. Shoy, Ms. Marcia, and Ms. Mella, thank you again. And may the week be productive, may your hair flow in the wind, may your eyes dazzle in the moonbeams, and may the chocolate just, taste on your lips as if it was the kiss from heaven.
Oh my goodness.
Right.
Was nice.
Until tomorrow.
Thank
be blessed.
you, Dwayne.
Thank you so much.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. MedLab in Smith Road Plaza, your complete medical laboratory solution. Call 949-7331. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays.